everyone, and welcome to Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of thecinematropolis.com, your home to thoughtful conversations on film. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and today we are here with a special edition. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, your beloved podcast co-host, and one of my best friends, Laron Chapman. He's been delivering insightful analysis on this podcast for years. He's been making movies for like 3 times as long and has been hustling and bustling and supporting Oklahoma film for years. And now he needs your help. He is in the process of crowdsourcing his first feature film in 7 years to make the world quiet. So today, we're going to have just a nice little sit-down conversation with Laron Chapman to hear about all things to make the world quiet, including how he was inspired and what you can do to help him ensure that this is the best possible version of the movie that he can make. So joining me today, as always, my special co-host, partner in crime, an award-winning Oklahoma filmmaker and the writer-director for the upcoming film To Make the World Quiet, Laron Chapman. Laron, welcome back.
Thank you for having me, sir. Excited to bring this story out to the masses, hopefully. And
confidently, I am confidently. You will bring this to the masses.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like you said, 7 years in the making. Not 7 years by choice, 7 years by circumstance and life and all those things, but also I just feel like it's not going to come out until it's ready to come out, until it's right. So I think we finally got it to that place, and I'm excited to share it with people.
All right. Well, so much to talk about there. And I will say, Laron, give yourself some credit that since you started working on the script for this film, there was a little thing. Oh, what was it? Oh, yeah. COVID-19 that occurred since then. So,
followed by, the
strikes,
the writer's strike, the actor's strikes. It's like,
multiple elections at this point. There's been a lot of things happen in the world. So,
absolutely.
I think 7 years with this particular project, we'll get into it, but it seems like a really rich premise you've got set out here. So I think a little extra time in the oven seems like you really refined the story so far. Laron, so let's just kick things off here. To Make the World Quiet, what exactly is the premise for folks who maybe haven't heard of the film or maybe the elevator pitch?
So it's about a young black youth who wakes up in the middle of a deserted apartment complex on a very poor side of town. And as he kind of tries to navigate that space and figure out how he came to be there, he's very disoriented and confused. He approaches one of the apartments and attempts to go inside. And when he twists the handle, he wakes back up on the pavement on the parking lot where he started. And so it kind of has this Groundhog Day loop. He's tethered on a loop in this space. And as we learn a little bit more from little vignettes of memories that is kind of that come at him in very distorted, blurry kind of formats. These other characters from different generations also kind of apparate around him, and they're living their nightmares out loud as well. And so this is in this space, all of these people from different generations, all people of color, by the way, have to confront their traumas in order to advance to whatever the next life is for them in that space. And so it has kind of, I don't want to say the Sixth Sense vibes to it in a way, but a little bit of Get Out. Definitely Jordan Peele is a huge inspiration whenever I was developing in the story. So, I'm
hearing a little bit of, as a gamer myself, a little bit of like potentially like light influence from like just video game. I mean, Groundhog's Day, where you're like, hey, you do this thing multiple times, or you make a little bit of progress or discover new things with each new sort of pass through the loop, right?
Absolutely. And as he kind of learns new things, he gets access to new places and new information is given to him. And there is kind of this challenge of like, what happens if he doesn't survive this space? What happens as he gets stuck here forever? Like, what's there's kind of a tug of war in terms of conflict with that. But all these characters are all I based all of these people off of people that lost their lives during the Black Lives Matter movement. And so this was my really kind of reverse engineering way of kind of like paying tribute to all these people, but doing it in a way that wasn't as straightforward like a documentary or maybe even like a Fruitvale Station, another inspiration for the movie. Because I feel like that movie exists. And so I wanted to kind of approach the material in a fresh and kind of new way, while also trying to stay grounded in the idea that this is a horrible thing that kind of keeps perpetuating in our society. So,
well, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because you've been working on the script for quite some time. And again, COVID was one of the things that happened as you'd been working on the story. But I mean, another major historical moment that was the George Floyd in 2020, the unfortunate death of George Floyd. How did moments like that have occurred, sadly, as you've been writing the script, did that in any way inform sort of how you approach the story, or did you sort of build off of how you were feeling in those moments?
Absolutely. And I feel like it kept evolving. This happened to me also with my first feature, You People, is where I wrote that as kind of like a confessional tribute to all of the different experiences that I had as a double minority in a very conservative state. But it's weird how when that movie came out, like I had a very specific intent in mind. And then it's weirdly that both of these things seem to be very connected to both of the presidential elections that involved the current president. Because that movie was developed in 2016, came out in 2017, so it's kind of, it was responding to the world and society and the racial tensions that were happening at the time for that. And then with this one, which I wrote pretty shortly thereafter, at least the first iteration of it after You People, so it was more kind of a response to, I mean, even as far back as like Trayvon Martin, that first draft. But then as 2020 especially happened, and we got, as you mentioned, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, those are the primary three that got the most national attention. But there was obviously several more names on that list. I kept going back to the story, wanting to incorporate, anecdotes or references or symbols to those people as well, so it did kind of keep getting remolded to be more modern because I felt like weirdly it just kept, getting dated over time. And then each time, finding fresh ways to deal with it because the political landscape had changed as well. So there was also more commentary to add into the story that wasn't there or didn't exist at the time, so. Mm.
And you mentioned You People. Now, again, You People is sort of a little bit of a comedy, a little bit of a biographical drama. There's quite a bit of drama in the moment, but it's got a lighter touch, I felt, to the subject.
For sure.
And versus your new project, this sounds a lot more like, again, thriller, psychological. How would you compare the two films?
I feel like I still feel like as a storyteller, I'm still approaching everything with that both sides journalistic perspective. I think that's always just baked into it. It's just how I see the world. Because that was essentially how I got into college was on a journalism scholarship, and so it's always been something that's been top of mind and kind of the lens through which I experience everything and try to understand everything. And so I feel like I started with You People actually as like a very in your face, like angry confessional kind of like, I don't know, maybe more Spike Lee than what you would expect from something like from as genial as I typically am, but then I reimagined it as a comedy because I realized that was a little too preachy, a little too in people's faces, and even if it was my truth, I kind of felt like I needed to find a way to make You People and its message more broadly appealing, at least for my first film, so that I could at least, bring more people into that conversation. And I felt like that came out really well in terms of like the type of people who went to go see that movie and the type of people who told me they relate to that movie are not necessarily the people I wrote it for, and so that was really nice to see that I had accomplished that with that. And so, and I think as a filmmaker, as I'm trying to define what my voice is as an artist and what I want to say and what kind of movies I want to make, I don't want to get stuck in one space. And so I thought shifting pretty dramatically from comedy to thriller, horror aspects of that would kind of at least inform people that I don't stay in one place too long. Might have some similar themes, but I'm definitely not going to keep telling the same movie over and over again.
I mean, taking a totally different angle on the subject matter into a more genre specific, which in some ways is more niche, but in other ways, I imagine also unlocks a lot of new ways or approaches to explore those themes visually and dramatically.
I think comedy and horror are both unique devices for talking about really uncomfortable subject matter, because there's essentially no rules, especially with horror. You could go anywhere with that. It could talk about anything or nothing if you want to. I just feel like I can't tell a story or get involved with the story unless I feel emotionally or personally connected to it. And so with both of these stories, like, they're dealing with subjects that are really personal to me and affect my life in a tangible way. And in a weird way, these are they're kind of cathartic, therapeutic ways for me to deal with the things that bother me in the world and also affect me personally. So,
Well, I also want to hone in on the fact that this is an Oklahoma project. Now, a lot of the themes you just talked about, this is something that is uniquely American in a number of ways. This is not just an Oklahoma problem or issue. This is, the matter of race, especially the violence against people of color by the police. This is a very, sadly, a theme that connects all of us in America one way or another. But you are bringing unique Oklahoma perspective to this story. So maybe a two-part question. Why did you ultimately decide to make this film in Oklahoma? And, what sort of added perspective do you think Oklahoma brings that maybe be a little different than what you see from like a film made in LA or New York, for example?
I think that's interesting. I feel like, I made it in Oklahoma because obviously this has kind of been my bread and butter for a long time. Everyone's asked me why I haven't gone to LA or New York or all these other bigger places that are known for movies. But I think that conversation is kind of changing. I think Hollywood is an idea in many ways. And a lot of people have tapped into the fact that you can make movies anywhere, in any state, really at any time, and probably do so more cost effectively, especially here in Oklahoma, where again we're not known for it, but that conversation is changing and the industry here is growing. And I have so many people here that are talented that have made movies. I really believe we have our Coen brothers, we have our Richard Linklaters, we have our Yorgos Lanthimos, we have our versions of that here in this state, and they've made movies for a fraction of $1 million, a fraction of $500,000, so and made movies that I think are better than some of the movies that get put out in theaters, and
Agreed.
If only they had the resources and the money to, do it with a major studio, even an independent studio, it would be great to see that. But I think also with Oklahoma being such a blood red conservative state, the politics here are very, disproportionately affect people of color here. And even though I live in a silo a lot of times and I surround myself with creative, like-minded, progressive-minded people, I'm reminded every election that I live in a red state that doesn't really care about the issues that affect a lot of these communities. But yet I stay here and do the work here because I really think this is where the work needs to be done. I could go to a more progressive state, but then I don't feel like what I'm bringing and the storytelling that I'm saying is going to be as, like novel there, because they might be more ahead of the game in that regard, So I feel like this is where the work needs to be done, and this is where I want to pour into that and kind of hopefully bring about my own version of some change in that regard.
When you're able to bring the story to the people in your neighborhood directly, people who know who you are, right? Yeah. Other Oklahomans who might not watch a movie from New York or LA about the subject matter, but if they know Laron Chapman,
but hey, I know Laron. I know him. You know what I mean? Like it might be easier for them. And then they'd want to support me. They go see the film, and then maybe they learn something from it, and that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have, if I hadn't brought that to them. So yeah.
Well, I think just one more question I would ask, before we talk a little bit about how people can support the film. I mean, how would you describe your story, your style and approach to narratives as a storyteller, writer, and also as a director? And like, what sort of do you think you bring to this project that's particularly exciting?
I tend to write stories that I didn't get that I didn't get when I was younger. Movies that weren't accessible to me or didn't exist for me. We have seen diversity change quite a bit over time, but I still think it's a work in progress overall. So I want to make movies for a new generation of people who may be in similar circumstances as me, but they have access to it, and it'll speak to them directly, because I feel like I'm in a unique position. When I step into many of these creative spaces, whether I'm working on film sets or television shows or whatever it might be here, I'm typically one of maybe a handful of people of color that are in above the line positions. And so I'm trying to take full advantage of being in the room where it happens for you Hamilton people. And basically, like, well, since I have this platform, I've built this network of people, even if it is just local. I'm in a position where I can do that. I can write stories to that. And if I don't see diversity on screen, if I don't see diversity, behind the camera, then when I make my projects, I can handpick those people and create those jobs for them, and create those opportunities for them, and hopefully let them shine a light on their talent so that other people can finally see that they actually can do these things. They just needed the opportunity to do so. So I feel like I approach stories very similar to that in the regard of, like, how can I broaden and diversify the artistic scene here in Oklahoma, while also telling stories that I think speak very specifically to marginalized communities. So
yeah, and again, I love that you're using your platform to help spotlight other talents, not just you. It's one thing I love about the Oklahoma film community here is it really isn't all rises with the tide, and everyone's working super, super hard, and people like you are saying, hey, come with me. Let's do this together. So we can all kind of continue to hone our craft and show people what Oklahoma filmmakers are actually able to do.
Absolutely. Before it gets cynical and before it turns into an LA or something like that, where everyone knows the gig and they're like, you go to a restaurant, hey, can I use this for my movie?
Yeah.
And then they already hand you the contract with the cost for it and everything. Like, we're kind of still in a space where people are just excited that you're featuring their mom and pop restaurant in a movie, or what have you. And also I mentioned, like, obviously diversifying my cast and my crew member makeup and all of that, but in general, just Oklahoma talent across the board. Whether it's musicians, whether it's wardrobe seamstresses, whatever it might be, we have, like, talent in so many different fields that kind of come together on film projects. And I just think, like, every time I'm on a movie set, I'm like, why are all these people not famous? They can do things that I see, those behind the scenes featurettes things. They do it here. They just don't have the spotlight's not on them. So,
well, Laron, man, I could talk to you about this all day. I think it's something both you and I have a shared passion for. But I want to talk a little bit more about how folks can actually support the project. Now, you launched an Indiegogo page earlier this fall, and you set a goal for this of $15,000, which, as I understand it, is only a small slice of a larger $50,000 goal you're going for.
Yes.
And then you proceeded to beat your $15,000 Indiegogo goal in less than 48 hours.
Yeah.
Firstly, congratulations,
Thanks.
number one. Number two, now that you've sort of got that momentum, what is your goal for fundraising right now? We're sitting here the week, I think you've got about 5 or 6 days left in your crowdsourcing until Halloween, right?
Yes.
What can people do to support you, and what is your ultimate goal with this specific part of the fundraising?
Yeah, so I would say we're pretty close to halfway to our goal, or maybe a little over. So at this final week, obviously the website is live until Halloween, and I have a very generous donator, or I guess you call him like a secret donor, who has told me that for this final week, he's going to match every dollar that is donated between now and the final day of closing. And so that's a huge incentive, for people who haven't given yet, or maybe want to contribute a little more, what have you, if they have the means to do so. That is something that is going to be very impactful for this particular production. So if people would like to donate to it, the project, if you go to Indiegogo / to make the world quiet, I think I'm sure we'll put links in the show notes here on the podcast for people to click on it. There's a whole host of really great perks and stuff for the film, for the project. Anyway, anything from T-shirts to signed posters to the script itself signed by the cast, or if you want to come and be an extra in the movie or be a producer on the movie, there's a lot of different ways to get involved with the project. And I did a very exhaustive, breakdown of everything on there for if you're wondering where this money's going, who it's going to, why we need this amount specifically. All of that information is there, as well as some trailers and some posters for the film to kind of give you a sense of the film and kind of visually what we're going for and what the message and intent and objectives are for the project. So
you're selling yourself short, Laron. Listeners, he's saying we made some trailers. What he means is I made a bona fide short film that if it were not for this campaign could actually go and win awards at film festivals. It's that good. That. Check that out, the Indiegogo page. But I think there's a really great slice of it's a great proof of concept. But again, speaks to your abilities as a filmmaker to tell a compelling story in just a couple of minutes. Sure. I can't wait to see if this is the short film version of the movie. I absolutely can't wait to see what the full blown out version is with the budget you're hoping to reach with your goals. And Laron, so it sounds like if you're listening, I just want to reiterate this one more time. This is the week to give if you're going to contribute, because not only will your dollar help Laron out, but for every dollar you put in, it will be matched by another contributor. So please, if you've been sitting on the line thinking about it, the time is now. You have until Halloween to get this thing, your contribution made. Now, Laron, where exactly? Just to give us kind of the high level, what will you do with the money once it's raised? Like, where is that going to go in terms of production costs?
So the money will first and foremost pay for the cast and crew salaries to be able to work on the project. Because I think with you people, it was definitely more, I won't say volunteer based, but definitely like everybody was paid a very set amount of money, and that was kind of understood at the very front of it. And, so that way all of the money that was donated could actually go to the production itself. And this one, I'd like to at least allot enough for the people to get paid, comparable to the efforts that they're going to be bringing to the project, while also having enough of a budget to tell this story properly, because it deserves to be told properly. And with it being a more visual story, we're going to need a lot more work done in post-production in terms of sound design, definitely visual effects, all of those kinds of things, so that they don't look, like, one of the Star Wars movies from the George Lucas ones, like now, today, as we're looking at them. You want the effects to actually age well and look good. So I'd like to tell the story properly and to make it look, professional for people, so that this time next year, for all the people who did donate, when their name is in the credits and I'm giving them all the thank yous and I'm crying, at the premiere, we can all be proud to say that we came together and helped make this project come to life. So
100%. And listeners, if that wasn't enough, Laron, I understand you have some of the most clever perk naming, names that you've come up with over here. What are some, give us the highlights. Like, what are a few of the perks that maybe you want to call out for listeners?
I'll give you one. So one of them is the Pearl in Credits Award. If you're familiar with the Ty West trilogy, and how Mia Goth is sobbing her eyes out with a crazy manic face at the very end of the credits there. So your name will be in the credits. I won't be sobbing and crying, but your name will be in the credits like that. Another one is the August Osage County Dinner. If you're familiar with the very chaotic dinner scene in that movie.
A film you worked on, by the way.
A film I did work on, one of the very first movies I worked on. So paying little tribute to that film, you'll have a specialized, personalized dinner with me and 10 other guests. And then, A Star is Born is one that I thought would be fun for people who wanted to actually be in the movie in some capacity. And that's for the Extras Award.
Do they get to sing Shallow?
I might make them just yeah, it might be a caveat. And then finally, one I'll just mention is the That's All VIP wrap party, if you want to come and join and celebrate the end of the production once we finished it. So those are three different 3 different ideas, and there are 13 total, fun, all named after different movies that I love that are affiliated with the movie. So yeah.
All right, listeners, there you have it. Again, I keep repeating it, but I just want to get known. Now is the time to donate because your dollar is going to go twice as far. And also you get lots of great perks and you help Laron's movie get made to the best quality possible. And that money is also going to be going back to a lot of Oklahoma's finest filmmaking talent. Laron, unfortunately, we are out of time today. Congratulations on this huge campaign that you've been pushing. I know it's not over yet. You're in the home stretch, but man, you have, firstly, you deserve this. You've been hustling. I mean, gosh, listeners on this podcast know, but this is only one small slice of the many things you're doing between this and Dead Center and working on your own films and working on other people's films. You've been a huge champion for Oklahoma film while you've also been working on your own projects. So, congratulations. This is well deserved. And also, I want you to know that so many of us are rooting for you and cannot wait to see exactly what you do when you get the film in production. Where can people follow updates on the film now?
You can definitely follow me on my social media accounts. Primarily, Facebook is the biggest one for me under my name, but you can also follow my Instagram, Black Movie Magic OKC.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to say to listeners before we wrap up today?
No, just stay tuned about the project, and hopefully this time next fall, I'll be in the director's seat making this movie.
All right. Well, listeners, I, for one, can't wait to see Laron in the director's chair. I've already seen what that behind-the-scenes footage looks like whenever he's in the mode, and he looks like a director through and through. Check it out on the Indiegogo page. Again, linked in the show notes there. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, for this special edition, and we'll catch you again next time.